I want to start with a discussion of something stylistic that's 80% of the reason I don't like this movie.
Okay.
And that is the having the narrator say something and then the character repeat the line after it for no reason. They do that throughout this movie, and it made me fucking insane. The one time they could have done it and it would have been a really funny joke, they didn't do it. When she said, oh, he's trying to say something like caring and profound, but she didn't hear it because she was just thinking about how she was 30 years old and just compared herself to Bambi. It would have been so good if she went, I'm 30 years old and I just compared myself to Bambi. Like, that's the one time it would have really worked as a good joke. And they do it so much, and it just made me insane. The narration in general, I think this movie could have done without the narration, period. I don't think it adds anything.
The narration was infrequent enough that when it popped in at one point, I was like, oh, yeah, they do narration in this movie.
Right.
I agree that it didn't need it, but to me, it didn't ruin it. But go
Same
ahead.
here.
It made the movie feel longer, and it already felt too long.
I agree that it didn't need to be there, and
I thought
also that the movie's maybe a bit too long, but I really like this movie.
Man, I thought it was one of the most incredible films I've seen in a long time. I thought
I liked it. This is the second time I've seen it.
Really?
I was really I was seeking it out the first time it came out,
right?
When it originally came out, because we had all watched his previous film, which Thelma, right?
Thelma,
yeah. I finally remembered it.
Thelma, yeah.
And so I wanted to see what he was doing with this,
which Jim uncracked for us beautifully.
Yes,
yeah, that's right. I love movies that are like this, in that it's characters where a lot of their conflicts are internal, and really it's a movie about people trying to figure out their lives. Like, how do you live your life?
I think the whole film balances against the title. Because,
yes.
Yeah, and
of course.
The film is doing by no specific action or thought is a terrible person, but cumulatively it just adds up to a completely wasted life in a lot of ways.
See, yeah, I mean, if she's the worst,
maximum damage she can, but not really trying to.
I mean, she is the worst person in the world, but I mean, that's
compared to what, though? That's the question.
I mean, I wrote this down. I said she is shitty in just the amount that most decent people are.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's
perfect.
Yeah.
And that's why this title is fucking brilliant.
Yeah, it is. You know, she's like,
she's not the worst person in the world by far.
You get invited to a party, you know.
There's worse people in this movie.
Yeah, there's worse people.
Yeah,
there are worse
absolutely.
People in this discussion.
And in fact, doesn't the boyfriend say, "I'm the worst"? I missed it, Scott.
It was
when I saw the finger come up, then I heard what you said.
Clip. Hold on, write this down.
Again, though, I will say, much like the last movie, the acting's impeccable in this. Like,
oh god,
yeah. Everybody does a really good job, with the possible exception of the second dude, who I feel like
comic book guy, or the other guy.
No, second dude, second boyfriend.
No, actually, the first Axel, the first boyfriend, won like major awards for this.
He's really good.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's really good in this.
He seems exactly like that guy. You know what I mean?
I think he stole the movie from her. I really do.
He makes a great cancer victim towards
right as he's dying.
All you got to do is shave off your eyebrows, Jim.
Yeah.
No, but as he's dying, and like the part where he's like, "You were the love of my life," like it's just crushing.
Yeah,
because she's so dismissive.
I was in fucking tears, dude.
She's so dismissive of his love at certain points in this movie, and like, and because he's an idiot, he can't ever properly express how he feels about her.
When they're when they're in the cafeteria before they go into his room, he says, "The one regret I have is that I never managed to show you how wonderful you are."
Right.
And that fucking killed me.
Yeah. Well, and that is such a this is a good person who's really bad at expressing that he cares about someone.
Yeah.
And like, that is something that is a regret that you take to your grave.
True.
You know, like,
and there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah, tell everybody you know that. Tell them you love them right now. Let's make a phone call. But
Right.
that
It's
was
true.
also, yeah,
It's
that's
true.
They're
you
all
know,
dead.
but the thing is, like that part where he's sick and she visits him and he starts talking about what's going to happen when he's dead. That
Oh,
was one of the
God.
most supremely Norwegian things I've ever seen. It's like Kierkegaard.
But
I
also
don't
that
want a
line-
legacy. I want to go home and live in the flat.
Yeah, his
No, no,
idea-
even before that, at the table though, when he says this also got me, fucking broke me when he says, I can only live in the past
Right.
because I don't have any future.
yeah,
Because
It was-
I know that I don't have a future. So everything that I know is already happened.
yeah.
It just
Because all he does is listen to
fucking killed me.
old music over and over again.
Yeah, that was rough too, because I mean, definitely. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I definitely feel like I'm one of those people who,
Listen to old music over and over again.
my identity is built about what I like. I am what I like, right?
The sum total of your likes.
I'm the sum total of the things I like.
Yeah.
I am only the American Ninja movies.
Yeah. However, there's a difference. I think there's a difference. Like I said, it's a cultural thing, or maybe it's a mental thing between how, say, an American in a situation, they find out you have inoperable pancreatic cancer. I'm going to beat this. I'm going to fight this. I'm a fighter, and I'm going to get past this, and it's going to be fine. Versus like this, which is like, I am not going to be here in a couple months, and
Yeah.
that is the first
Yeah.
thing that hits you. Existential dread is like a team sport in Scandinavia. And,
So it's funny. I want to tell a real quick story here,
Okay.
which is when my father was dying of cancer, we went and visited him, my ex and I, and we're sitting in the living room with him, and I've been having this problem with my credit card company. And like, I just got off the phone with him, and I was just like sitting in the living room, and I was just like, this is so fucking stupid. And my dad was like, why didn't you tell him like you're visiting your dying father? And I'm like, because I don't want to like play on that. And he's like, this is the only chance you're gonna get. I'm dying. Like,
Wow.
He's like, use it.
yeah,
Use it.
it's
he
granted.
absolutely had that. He had exactly what you're talking about, that understanding that this was it. Like,
Right.
you're not beating stage 4 lung cancer. You're done.
Right.
And like, he lived the last few months of his life like that. And as many problems as I had with him as a person over the course of my life, like I hope at the end I have that kind of clarity.
Yeah.
Like,
Well
like I
said.
really do hope I have that kind of clarity.
And this character definitely did.
Yeah.
He
said
absolutely does. And
some of
that's
the
what's
most
so
heartbreaking
realistic
things.
about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, this is like it's a cultural thing. It didn't surprise me that he had this sense of dread that the angst, as coined, was there, and it was just neat to see it play out in that well in a screen. The only time I've ever seen it done this well, oddly enough, was the Seventh Seal by Bergman. That's the same thing.
Jim's nodding.
Yeah, the Knight talks about the exact same thing at one point in the film about existential dread and how he's not going to be here anymore, and with death, which is okay, but
All playing
A little-
chess with death.
He's
A little
playing
on the
chess, yeah.
nose, maybe.
it
And
was
then,
Well,
and
it's,
then, and
it's
then they play
surrealism.
Twister. Oh wait, that's a different movie.
it was the 50s. They could get away with
That's
it.
Bill and
Yeah,
Ted's
that-
Bogus Journey.
Also, there's this film is full of again, I love the fact it was just going to follow this person's life from you just come in media res and you end in media res, and you're going to see how this person is basically an unwitting path of destruction
In her formative years, so to
her
speak.
formative years. And there's also the great bit where she's going to have an affair and the world stops.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
cute.
really well done. I mean,
There are
Really
two
beautifully
huge
done.
More of that.
There are two huge flights of fancy in this movie, which is pretty much straight ahead realism besides that. And that's the frozen time when she decides to break up with comic book guy.
uh-huh.
And then there's that crazy mushroom trip.
Yeah. Oh,
that was
That's
old
where
lady-
you see. That's
the
where you
old
see
lady
this
body
the
is
guy who made
incredible.
Velma.
Yeah.
the effects though are so well done.
The old lady body is really well done. Yeah.
It's super well done.
What did you say, Jared? Excuse me, Tad, just now?
That's where you see this is the guy who directed Thelma.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Right.
A little bit.
yes.
Yeah. And I almost feel like both of those you could lift out and still have a good movie.
Yeah, but true.
because
Yeah.
I was waiting for where's the guy who directed Thelma.
And there he
This
is.
entire movie, and then it was like, oh, here he is.
Yep.
And that was disappointing because I wish there was more of that. Like,
Yeah.
I really
They're
wish
both
I
they're both good
felt-
sequences. I just don't know if they belong in this movie.
I know. I see them as
Wish there had been
such
more.
different films. I just think he's a really talented filmmaker.
I think he's absolutely a talented filmmaker. The other 20% of the reason I don't like this movie is the music. I think the music of this movie is fucking awful.
Oh, yeah.
I was
I
great
really
to
like
hear
it,
two
actually.
Harry Nilsson songs.
Hey,
I
what
really
is-
like the music.
I never need to hear that Christopher Cross song again as long as I live.
No, I'm not talking about the pop songs. I'm talking about the
I'm
score.
talking about the
score.
I'm
is-
specifically talking about the pop
Talking about
songs.
the
No,
needle
the
drops.
score.
Yeah.
The score itself is quite nice.
The score's fine. The score's fine.
Well, okay, better drug trip. This or the that one, that Boys in the Woods thing. Remember that one?
Boys
Oh
in the Woods.
yeah. Well, they're very different. I think the boys.
Get Duked is better
Duked.
because it's
Get
funny.
Duked is a better drug trip, but this was personal to one
hilarious.
character.
Right.
You know,
Okay, good enough. I just
Right, everyone's on drugs in that. Scene.
Yes.
That's a good
Yeah.
group drug trip.
yeah, okay.
like
I
this
think
is like,
mushrooms
but when
were
she
gonna
like,
turn into
but
cocaine,
there's few movies. Okay, she
Persian
literally
carpet.
sits naked in front of her father, pulls out her fucking tampon and hucks it at his face. That's amazing. That's
was a
incredible,
moment.
dude.
That is a moment.
And then she
Yeah,
puts on
and
the-
then she fucking
puts
war
on war
paints
paint.
herself
Oh my
War
God.
with
paint.
her fucking.
Which we don't know how much the other stuff happened in real life, but she
But
wakes
that
up
did
with
really
the blood.
happen. Yeah,
She wakes
that
up with the
really
blood
did
on
happen.
her face.
I've not seen that exact thing, but I have seen
To take a shower.
in a movie. A woman
Mhm,
use period blood and do that with it in a movie. I don't remember which one it is, but I've absolutely seen it before.
So there's two films where
I've
this
never
happened.
seen that except
Yeah.
there was a really good movie called
This one
The
in Steel
Diary.
Magnolias.
There's a good movie called The Diary of a Teenage Girl where when she first has sex, of course, it's her first time and she's a virgin, and you just see her laying in the bed and her hand disappears, and when it comes up, she wipes the guy's thigh and there's blood on it, and she just does it like defiantly or like a proclamation of like, you just
Did this.
deflowered me.
Right.
Well, it was really awesome, but I haven't seen what you're talking about, Tab, because this to me, because John's right. Like she wakes up, and that's one thing she did do on the drug trip was
Yes.
she really did that.
And then she says, I
feel
need
like
to
it
take a
was
shower.
also-
Yeah, I
feel
need to
like
take
it
a
was-
shower.
I feel like it was
the
also
miscarriage
some
in the shower
Norwegian or
scene.
whatever.
Yeah. Do you think that she was trying?
Oh, yeah, more blood.
Do you think she was trying to blame her father for how she was, or the film was trying to blame her father for how she was?
Not
I mean,
blame, but he's
I
definitely a
get all
shitty
thought
character.
through
Like
that.
he's a shitty person.
He is.
What,
Just a
Jim?
shitty person.
Yeah, he's just a shitty person. He's not responsible for the way she is.
I mean, he could be.
Well, he's
Like, I can't drive. I can't find parking. Oh, so you won't drive because you can't find parking.
and I
No,
haven't
I'm
read your
not.
story that's published.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
fuck
Well,
off,
he
dude.
just didn't want a relationship with her. That's basically
Yeah.
No, he likes the other daughter who plays soccer more.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
also like the
Yeah, because he got her the fucking same coat.
Same
Same
jacket.
jacket.
The same
my God,
jacket.
I forgot
That
about
is a great
so good.
detail, and I love that it's never mentioned in dialogue. It's just like, oh, that's the same fucking jacket.
She's like, "Thanks for the jacket, Dad," and the other daughter walks in, and it's just like, "You motherfucker!"
That's how
Right.
Tad's exactly right. She's an afterthought.
Yeah.
He bought that for his star daughter and was like, I'll just get her the same thing because I don't
Right.
know what she
Yeah,
likes and
because
I
I
don't care
want her
about
to
her.
be more like the one I like.
Right.
Was
Yeah.
she
Right.
supposed to be a half sister or was she a full sister? I can't remember.
I think she's a full.
I think it's a full sister.
Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
So I wrote a little bit more, and I want to read you guys this paragraph. I said, this movie is ultimately a cautionary tale about not committing.
Oh,
Mm,
interesting.
I mean, you
Mhm.
see her character set up at the very beginning when she changes her major 3 times.
Oh God, yeah.
Tells her mother, I'm really into photography now. And her mother's like, okay, whatever makes you happy. You
But
know,
that was
and at
after
point,
that was after medical school and after psychology.
right after
Yeah.
psychology.
I guess we'll
Right.
just dip into savings
Coming
here. Well,
down.
thank God it was a
Yeah.
socialized country.
And
with
that's where she ends up working, right? As a stills photographer on a
Yeah.
movie set.
She actually puts that to some use, right?
Which is like kind of
Yeah.
a kick in the teeth to the film industry in some ways.
But I mean, I think the statement, if there's a statement for what this film's about, is like, if you avoid, I'm reading again.
Go ahead.
If you avoid decisions in favor of the idea of freedom in your life, because that's what she does. She doesn't commit
Oh,
to the
that's-
first boyfriend.
That's
She
well
doesn't-
said.
She doesn't commit to
That's a
anything.
good thought.
And she's loyal to the idea of her own personal freedom. But ultimately,
So
it's
so
like,
what does so can you
She's
still
in
have
her
can you still have
20s,
freedom
and the film
if you
takes
commit
place
to
over 4
something?
years.
What was that, Jim?
what, Jim?
She's in her 20s.
Yeah.
Right.
So I forgive her a lot.
But
Yeah.
she's in her
And
30s.
The film takes place over a period of 4 years.
Yeah.
Right.
She's 30 by the time
She-
we get
no, she's-
the
she's
birthday
30.
She's
party.
in her mid-20s when it starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's in her 30s by the time they even have that first getaway with the kids.
Yeah.
She's 30.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he says you're 30.
Oh, that was a fun weekend with that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Another one of
Yeah.
the people in this movie who's worse than she is the wife who's just screaming at the husband.
Oh
Yes.
God.
Yeah, through the wall.
Who doesn't want to have any fun at all?
The best line in the movie is when she goes, "So do you want to make a baby?" And he goes, "Fuck you."
Yeah, that was a funny line. I mean,
Yeah.
she's funny. She says, "Do you want to make a baby?" That's her choice of saying that then.
There's that in the butthole conversation about the cat.
The
Oh,
cat's
Yeah.
tail.
That's
the
good.
point where she decides to leave him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the end of that relationship.
Mm.
Uh-huh. Wow.
But that it's right behind Scott. That conversation is so good.
Oh yeah. And
Like,
she plays
and
it
he takes it, and I gotta say this, dude, he takes it like a fucking champ.
He does.
in that
Although
moment,
he
in that
does- he-
moment.
in that sequence, he kind of clings a bit. He makes her stay and talk and talk and talk.
Well, yeah, later.
Yeah, that's
but
a-
in that
He
uncomfortable.
fucks it up twice.
Yeah,
Like
but
he almost gets her back twice. He
yeah.
fucks it up both times because he's an idiot.
Well,
He
he also loves her and he's needy, and
But he's a real person. He's a
Well, no,
real
but
person.
I'm not saying that I'm not an idiot in relationships. Like you look back at that and you go, shit, I shouldn't have fucking said that.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
because he absolutely had two of those moments.
Right.
Oh, I guarantee you I'm the biggest idiot out of this whole group in relationships. Anyway.
You got some competition, Jared.
But I want to hear more from Scott, because Scott said he really liked it.
I did. I just thought it was a nice observation of somebody. They're not necessarily a good person, not necessarily a bad person, but you drop in, you see these things, and at the end, you may have to make the evaluation for yourself. This person's destructive. This person, like John said, is like more enamored of her freedom than any relationship. Than she's than commitment. She doesn't want to do any of that stuff, and that kind of that yearning for being not attached to anything is destructive. I think. Not wanting to be attached to anything.
Well, it can be. Yeah.
It can
Right.
be. Yeah.
People are so afraid of commitment, but ultimately this is where you end up if you don't make a decision and commit to something. You end up with nothing.
And at the end, did she have there's a lesson? I don't think she learned anything.
Well, that's what I wanted to get
she
to,
doesn't
Scott.
learn anything.
I wanted to get to that, Scott, because this movie, I'm not sure what it's saying at the very end, because when she is in the shower and she has the miscarriage, she's kind of let off the hook by the story.
That grins
She
a little
doesn't
bit.
have to decide to have the baby, and she doesn't have to decide to have an abortion. The decision is made; it's taken out of her hands.
She
Right.
smiles after the
She does.
miscarriage.
She does.
Like that.
That's the
thread-
answer.
Yeah.
That thread gets cut, and so she doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
And she
Like,
smiles.
She goes,
We know how she feels about it, but she didn't have to make a fucking decision.
Well, she was indifferent about it,
Good
to be
point.
on, like the whole time.
do you remember?
Or not
John,
indifferent, but she didn't know whether she wanted to keep. She was indecisive.
I started thinking she was indecisive, like her. That's her character
whole
trait.
life.
That is her
Right.
character trait. She is indecisive. She
John,
says, "I feel like I never follow through with anything." She says that to a comic book guy in the
But with the implication that maybe I should follow through with this.
maybe I should have the baby, but
Right.
she doesn't have the baby, which would have been one ending. She
But I think
doesn't
that-
have an
but I-
abortion, which would have been another ending.
But this is how brilliant this movie is in terms of being real, which I bet if she didn't have that miscarriage in the shower, she would have had the baby. Now, that doesn't mean that if she had that miscarriage that she doesn't feel some kind of relief. You can have both of those feelings
Sure,
absolutely.
at the same
Yeah.
time.
absolutely.
But the relief is that she didn't have to make a decision.
But what is the movie?
Oh, Tad,
well-
that might be right.
Yeah,
Right.
Yes.
So, John,
Yeah.
I want to mention this because it's something that's a touchstone that I think if anyone ever watches this, people might understand. Do you remember in the first season of House when he finds out that what's her name married a guy who was dying of cancer?
Yeah.
And he's like, the reason you did that, on top of the fact that you want to be a martyr, is also because then you didn't have to commit. He had an expiration date.
Huh.
Like you didn't need to be a wife to this guy for the rest of your life. You
Right.
got to have the experience of a husband
For the rest of his
dying.
life, I do.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to have the experience of a husband dying, and then you got to move on.
Right.
And like you almost see that same thing with her because she's completely reconnecting with Axel
Yes.
as he's dying of cancer.
Yes.
Because she wouldn't have to commit to him.
I think
She would never
Right.
have to commit to.
I think he
to a
said
life
something
like
to that effect too, doesn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah, because there's that great scene where
they're in bed together.
Well, there's that great scene where her other boyfriend finds her writing and he's trying to compliment her and she picks a fight on purpose and she's trying to
He
basically
did find it by going through the garbage, though.
Yeah.
Yes. But she picks a fight that's so sort of out of like, then she calls him out on his job, and that's her.
That's yes.
Yeah.
And that's her saying, that's her picking a fight because she doesn't want, she's so comfortable in that relationship that she has to ruffle the feathers because she's like, I can't, this is getting too serious. And also I think it's actually right after Axel, she might have reconnected with him, and
Yes.
she's picking a fight
Yeah.
on purpose.
Mhm.
And
She
then
is. She's
also-
choosing to have a fight because at first she's flattered that he likes her writing, and then she decides to pick a fight by saying, "You went through the trash and read my writing." It's like,
And she says, how would you know? Because Axel does know what good writing is. She's challenging this guy. Do you even know what
When was
good
the last
writing
time
is?
you read a book?
Yeah.
Right. What was the
yeah,
last
right.
book?
You're
And-
not as good as my old boyfriend. Is what she-
And, you know,
Well,
and
and
she's
also-
saying
and
you're
also there's-
content. You're content with serving coffee for the next
There's
50 years. I'm
projection.
not.
There's,
That was-
there's
that-
projection there because
Totally.
she's saying I'm not. You're comfortable with serving coffee. I'm not. You've been working in that fucking bookstore for 5 years.
I was
man.
gonna say it's a little
Yeah.
disingenuous.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
no shit.
Well, I want Jim's corner.
Jim's corner.
I really liked it. It was good. I liked the story. I liked the little set pieces that were sprinkled throughout of like time standing still while she makes her decision. And
That's so funny because you froze up right when you said time.
yeah, time. Anyway, it's I was
Episode's
surprised.
directed
I
by
mean,
that guy.
just like in the last one, I was going, "Oh, Jared." This one, I was going, "Oh, Jared."
Aha.
Yay! That's a good. That's a good. Oh, Jared.
Good
That's a
Jared.
good. Oh,
Not
Jared.
bad, oh, Jared.
Where's
This
the
is
zombie
Jared's- this is
clawing its
Jared's
way out of
therapy.
somebody's asshole.
We're just
you know?
watching Jared's therapy session here.
Yeah.
We're starting
Yeah.
with the
These
getting
two.
off
These
on
two
being
films
women,
are the two.
and
These
then
two films
I'm
are the two. These two films are the two
Okay.
sides of Jared. That's
Although-
Side,
Jared,
inside
you should
every
not
yelling
miss-
about movie.
Mr. Jared
presenter.
and Dr. Wright.
Don't date this woman, Jared. She'll fuck you up.
Inside every yelling about movies presenter, there's two wolves, and one of those wolves beats a woman to get off on it, and the other one can't talk to their girlfriend.
There you go. That covers the whole spectrum of wolves.
Very
Alright.
It's.
Oh, but
This is
the
all
thing I
art.
wanted
It's
to
just all
circle
art.
back
Well, Jim,
to-
it's back. Jim's back.
Go back to Jim.
The thing I wanted to circle back to was when the movie starts, I said, "Oh, great! Look, it's Godard." He always has these like masculine, feminine, has those, a story in 10 chapters or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that went throughout the thing, and it was interesting.
And
to see-
an epilogue and a prologue, which you don't often see in film anymore.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the one of the interesting things was so like I was paying attention, of course, to the chapter titles and how they were translated, and like at one point it was bad timing, which is like bad timing in English, bad timing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And they actually use it in the dialogue too.
Oral sex and #me too are both in English.
That's
Yeah, I
a
know.
great.
There's a lot
yeah.
of borrow words in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but the one that had me confused was, and I sort of think I understood it because it was almost German, was one of the chapters in the middle is described as being first person singular,
Mhm.
but in the Norwegian, it says something like, horrible culture or bad culture or something. And I was just like, how did they get these? I mean, who knows?
Not
Some
even
weird-
close.
Some weird Norwegian in joke we're not part of.
Yeah, it could be, or it
It's
could
the
be the
difference. It's the
director.
difference between localization and translation.
Huh?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. All
We
right,
haven't even talked about. Oh yeah, we got Chris's. Yeah.
Chris is ready.
Oh, right.
All right.
Yeah,
The-
let's hear Chris.
The worst woman in the world. This was
Worst. No, the worst
Worst
person.
person.
Oh, he rewrote. I'm just writing.
He changed it?
All right.
Yeah, he changed it. So he
The worst woman in the world.
Maybe he-
Already his whole it's
He's
debunked.
He's shown
It's-
his hand.
Inside
You already
Chris,
lost,
there's
Chris.
3 wolves. There's 3 wolves. The third wolf
Sure, the
is not
third one.
remembering the title.
The third wolf is a dead,
Maybe it's intentional. Maybe he
You
knows
can't,
what
you
he's doing.
can't, you can't
A
talk
dead
about it
French
if you
bulldog.
don't know what it is. Okay. go
Anyway, this was a refreshing take on the young person trying to figure their shit out genre, because usually it's about a guy. Yeah, fair point. One of
It
the
is.
film's greatest strengths is the portrayal of a flawed and relatable characters. The acting in this film is superb. That's in capitals. The lead was a
Yeah.
refreshing departure from conventional archetypes due to her vulnerability, ambitions, and occasional missteps. And she
Occasional.
created an authentic and
Movies
multidimensional
missteps.
persona. If I had a criticism, it was that the only time the movie really kicked in for me emotionally was when she visited her old boyfriend in the hospital. We kind of covered this.
Yeah, for
His
sure.
story was truly tragic, and there was some point where I felt like I was feeling the impact more than she was. Oh, good point. By the time the movie ended, I wasn't even sure what changed in her character as a result.
Nothing.
Had
Nothing.
she grown emotionally at all? I wasn't
Nope.
sure, leaning no. But I suppose that's the point. Ultimately, this is a very good movie. Solid thumbs up.
That's why
All
she's
right.
working in the film industry.
It's like it's pretty much everything we just discussed. So, well,
But we
done.
didn't talk
Yeah.
about before we let this go.
agrees with everyone.
The non-cheating scene I thought was really, really great.
I'm
That
so
whole
glad you brought that
sequence.
up because
Oh,
that
at
was
the
the one
party?
thing
That was pretty funny.
that is such a great sequence. That is so
They
good.
swap cigarettes.
This isn't cheating. This isn't cheating.
This isn't
This
cheating.
isn't cheating.
This is
The whole that
this
whole
isn't
that
cheating. This
whole
is
sort of build, it was just beautifully acted and orchestrated and done. And
It's terrific.
I like the part.
it
I like the
happens
part where the
twice
people
that
keep coming in and
come
getting their
pick up
coats.
yeah, they're sitting on the
Yeah.
coat.
Oh, the
they're,
coats.
they're sitting on the
Yeah,
coat
They're
bed,
like, "What the
which is
fuck are these
great because
people
who
doing?"
sits on the fucking coat bed? It
He
was
goes
so
all
great.
he goes all the way over and leans in her ear to tell her the secret, and then the person comes in and he's like, "I guess I'm sitting on everything." It's like,
Yeah.
like
and she's going pee and she farts. I mean, it's so good.
The
Everything is
bathroom
so good.
scene, right? That was so great.
Although the whole
But, even the joke about she says she's looking at him pee and he goes, "Yeah, but you like him flaccid." It's
Right.
just like
and
it's
he goes, "That's not sexy at all, is it?" And she goes, "No," and then he goes, "Yeah, well, you like him flats."
exactly. It's so good.
And have we ever seen that scene in a movie before?
no, not really. No,
No.
that's kind of unique. Although I didn't.
No, maybe John Cassavetes flushing the toilet in Rosemary's Baby.
Of all the sequences,
Oh, yeah.
I found her least kind of likable in that because she was, going to go crash a wedding. She was basically, as we call it, down to clown, and
Yeah.
out to get laid, and so it kind of made her like every other step in this film. She actually is trying to be earnest. This one was actually she's going to get laid, and that's not.
I don't know.
It didn't feel
No,
like
because
her.
she's the one. He goes to tell her his name, and she says,
Yeah, she says no.
Right.
Like,
And also, right
know,
before she
that-
crashes,
I don't think she's.
But-
I don't think she's trying to get laid in that scene, Scott.
I don't think so either, because I think right
I
before
thought she was teasing him.
everything she did was like, let's not get laid. Let's not.
I think
take
she,
it to
Right,
that
it was
but
level.
I think she
flirting.
wants to.
Yeah, it was
she
flirting.
wants to be out of the when she pretends to be a doctor and gives that woman advice on her
Yeah.
child, which is terrible.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Like,
it was so funny.
I don't know.
it was so funny though. But I think she's just like, okay, right before she gets to that party, there's this beautiful sequence of her walking for a long time.
That was
And
nice.
And then she looks out over, like the lake or whatever,
Downtown
and she's
Oslo.
or she downtown Oslo. She's crying. She's
Yeah.
actually in tears.
That-
And
so
then
that's
she
a real
stumbles upon the
joke.
party. So I mean, I think this is
But
a woman.
But that was the load up for me. It was like, oh, she's really.
Well, that's a woman. She's really trying to take stock in her life, and she has a great thing, but she doesn't know if she's happy.
I know. Okay, well, let's disagree.
know.
Disagree on this one. I just think that there was at one point. I think that she kind of her characterization in the film. I thought dipped for me in that one part. That one point only.
But
Great throughout.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
she's
disagree.
fallible. She's fallible.
Yeah.
I'm going to
okay.
disagree with you about the characterization in that scene, Scott, specifically because it calls back to the scene where she meets Axel the first time, because she's with the guy who
Yeah, she's with that
doing the
model guy.
photography,
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
with the grill,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
she just ditches him immediately to talk
Yep.
to Axel.
That's
Like,
true.
it's just like she's not above doing something like that too.
Okay. All right.
Like
Yeah.
I don't think that is counter to.
And
a
there's even that
character.
shot of the
Even
model
if she
looking at her,
is-
talking to
right.
Axel, being like, "Are you going to come back?"
Right. even if she is trying to get laid in that scene, which I agree with everyone else that I don't think she was, like, it's not counter to her character.
Dude,
Like-
if she wanted to get laid, she could have.
All right.
Right.
All right.
She wasn't. They were
like I
both
said,
trying to,
I-
but that's what that whole scene was about, and that's why I think John
Who's
and I
going to
love-
cross the line?
Right.
Well,
right.
John and I,
Right.
yeah, we love it so much because it's like, listen, we both know we want to, we both know we can't,
Right.
so we're going to play a game,
Right.
and that's what's brilliant.
It's
Yeah.
it's
It's just
it's
the game's
second
basically a
before movie.
negotiation. You know how it's going to end. You know,
It's
that's
this. It's the second before movie.
Yeah.
It's the.
Well,
it's
but either
the
way.
we're both in a relationship. We can't do this
Oh, right.
again.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because this is the third of a trilogy. But
Right.
Yeah.
well,
The Oslo trilogy.
well, what we got?
I love this movie.
this is entirely because it's too long. I don't like the narration, and the music made me angry.
I thought it was just
You and also you don't like
You petty son of a
fun.
bitch.
You don't like fun. No, you don't like fun. It's like you don't like love or
He
romance. It's
doesn't even
fine.
come up to
I like movies.
I loved the Beyond movies. I ended up picking, or before movies, I ended up picking the first one as one of my favorite movies of that year. Because of how much I liked the successive
Actually, I was
ones.
really happy that not that I made you, but because we did them, that you changed your mind about those. That was nice.